Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Irma, for having me here, and very good evening. Uh, see, I am in the corporate throughout my life, and today I am going to talk about some of my experience, how to build sustainability into business practices. As you have seen from my designation, I work as a Chief Sustainability Officer in one of the corporates. But before I share my experience about how to build sustainability into business practices, I want to dwell upon some of the fundamentals. During last 30 years, I've interacted with many people within the corporates and outside the corporate. I have not seen two people agreeing on the definition of sustainability. Sustainability has been perceived differently by different functions and organizations even. Some see doing good for society is sustainability. Some see having fair wages is sustainability. Some see by having ethical supply chain is sustainability. Some see by taking care of the community is sustainability. Some see by taking care of the nature is sustainability. Finally, most of the CEOs, they took economic resilience is the sustainability. I also believe as business, if need to be sustainable, it needs to take account of all these things. That is why I have given this parable. Sustainability is akin to the elephant which was seen by the blind people and perceives various part as they perceive. But we need to look elephant as elephant. We need to see sustainability as a whole. We, fortunately or unfortunately, we don't have a definition. Therefore, I always say that as a corporate, you need to define what it means for you because nobody else is going to define for you. That's the number one point I want to share. The second point, whose sustainability we are talking? The reason why I raise this point, many people tells me, let us save the Mother Earth. And my response has been, you don't need to save Mother Earth. Mother Earth is know how to make a balance and to save herself. So we are beyond those forces. We need to save ourselves. So I'm going to talk about sustainability for you and me, sustainability for the business in which we are working. And to drive my point, I want to show you two graphs. I think this you have already seen in my previous speaker showing. More people are living in the small circle than the outside circle. This is the global picture. But I'll show you another picture. You see a red dot. More people in the red dot lives than total population of Europe and US together. 5% of global populations are staying inside this small dot. What does it mean? It means the people who are staying in this small circle or in this small dot, they are going to face lot more challenge for the resources than people staying outside. So therefore, it re-emphasizes why sustainability cannot be defined same for everybody and every region, and for every business for that matter. And I always call India is at the epicenter of sustainability. The reason because we have less resource and more people, and we need to be competitive as a person, as a business. That's the second point I want to drive, fundamental. But look, resource everybody needs. Energy, everybody needs. Energy is prosperity. But what we should be worry about, what is the big trends? Do we need to worry about each and everything in our life or in society, or we need to focus on some important things? That is where I really like this World Business Center's 3 global trends, or we call 3 global challenges. Climate change, we are in climate emergency. In 2024, we breached 1.5 degree scenario target that we had agreed in Paris Agreement in 2015 to achieve. We have already breached. Temperature rise is escalating natural disasters, whether it is forest fire, cyclones, intense precipitations, flood. In the March, I am living in Mumbai, we have got 2 weeks of heat wave alert. So this is a reality. This is happening. But how it matters financially? Scientists have estimated by 2050, around 38 trillion of the GDP is going to get affected because of the climate change. That is, more than 19% of our income is going to reduce. That's because of climate change. Nature loss everywhere. We have seen land degradation. It's almost 75% land degradation happen and 85% in wetlands. That's the kind of land degradation has happened. Water is becoming a big problem, and in fact, water in India, we are in a water stress area. As a business, I have seen in my lifetime business being closed down, not because of demand or supply or financials. It has closed down because of unavailability of water. So that has been challenged. We are facing an unprecedented loss of biodiversity. 1 million species are under extinct or threat of getting extinct. It is 1,000 to 10,000 times that the background rate of extinction. Nature loss is a big issue from a business perspective. Around 44 trillion of GDP is dependent on nature-related business. We saw 3 of the business today presentations that are dependent on the nature. So this is a big trend. Mounting inequality after 2020, the total wealth created, 2/3 of the wealth is being controlled by 1% of population. And rest is by 2/3 of the population. With that also 700 million people are going to bed every night without food. The pay parity between the gender, female and male, females are drawing less than 20% of the pay than the males. So the inequality is mounting and it is getting visible. It's going to impact to the social life. Now if you look back to what the business leaders are telling, this is the World Economic Forum, which conducts a risk perception survey every year. This is the latest one. If you see from here, environmental and social disturbances are going to cause real business disruption. This is not a question of, as a business, we recognize those challenges. Rather, question is how we integrate this risk management system into business practices. So those are the facts being told by the people who are doing and conducting the business. But these are the facts. Now, if these are the facts, how do we integrate and be a sustainable business? For me, being a sustainable business is to continue what you are doing and prospering on what you are doing. Now, before, I just want to give 7 reasons why integrating sustainability is good for business. The first one, of late, if you see, more than 85% of investment, sustainable investment, are being invested by companies. So companies are investing more and more into sustainability. So it's good for sustainability. There is an increasing customer demand. 85%, more than 72% of the customers are willing to go for sustainable product than the normal product. Your operations become efficient. Even I have seen in my experience, we run a program called SEED, Sustainable Energy Environment Decarbonization. This is about efficiency improvement projects by which we not only reduce our emissions, but we make money. So by energy efficiency, by water efficiency, by resource efficiency, you become efficient. So this is good for business. Regulations are changing. Even if in India, if you see that more and more regulations are coming for the companies to report on sustainability. BRSR is an example. Europe is leading with CSRD, CRDD. I mean, these are acronyms. I always call, we are in a alphabet soup at the moment as far as regulations of business is concerned. So we need to gear up and comply to the regulation, otherwise we cannot operate. There has been increasing appetite to raise finances for business. For example, I have seen in the last 5 years, we have raised more than $1.6 billion through various sustainability linked instruments to run and fuel our business. So it's good for business and you can raise money if you are more sustainable. Increasingly, investors are keen on your sustainability practices. As a chief sustainability officer, of late from last 4 years, I can share my experience almost every week I interact with investor. Otherwise, previously, because I am in this field for more than 30 years, before COVID, nobody was asking us. We were always the backbenchers. Our absence were always felt, presence never. Now the things have reversed. There is an impact on the market valuation if you see lot of clean techs, green offerings, sustainable product offerings are coming and disrupting the market. And their value, if you look at a S&P Global 500, they are giving more than 12% of ROI. So sustainability embedded into business is good for business, right? So with that pitch, let me tell you quickly that how we build sustainability into business. If we are convinced that sustainability is to be integrated into business practice, then how? Let us understand the fundamentals of a business. The business is a system, and it is managed by the top management to provide a product and service which is legally accepted. How we do that? We have an asset. That asset need to be managed by the people. The people need to be competent. And that is why the trainings, education is so important. But we also need standard operating procedures, practices. Those are robust so that we ensure that we provide the product and service that society need. Because business is to provide solutions for this society. But in the process, what happens? We also produce undesirable product and services. For example, emissions, waste, not safety practices, fatality. So that need to be avoided. So as a business, we have to also have management system to manage those undesirable impact so that they are within the planetary boundary. It's a big ask. But again, I want to reiterate, if a business is a management system, sustainability is also a management system that helps to run the business management system. So we need to think about all in a system perspective. Now let me share, how do we then build sustainability into business practices? I started with that sustainability doesn't have a universal definition and perception. So therefore, as a business, everybody has to define what it means for them until we get a global definition. So we have a global definition of sustainable development, but not on sustainability. Now, therefore, strategy is so important. I have shown 7 blocks of strategy. It starts with leadership. If you do not have leadership commitment, nothing will move. So that is the first block. Sustainability is not a solo journey. You need to take care of all the stakeholders that manage sustainability. And therefore, stakeholder engagement and management is so important. It's not only your shareholder. It is your employee, your community, your regulators, think tanks, educational institute like IRMA, everybody has a role, so you have to take care of them. Transparency is the key. You need to communicate both within and outside the organizations that need a strategy. Planning is very important. You have to have the right target. You have to have the right resource to drive what you have set by the top management to achieve. And that is why you need planning. Then you improve. And as we all know, we cannot improve if you do not monitor. If you don't monitor, we can't improve. So that is why monitoring is very much a part of that. And at the end, we need to be truthfully report to all our stakeholders on our performance. And this should be your part of strategy to inbuild sustainability into business practice. So once you have a strategy in place, the next question automatically comes. How do I achieve my strategy? I need a framework. And that framework essentially should start with your commitments. And that must be communicated to public. It usually done through policies. I do not personally advocate a single large sustainability policy or business policy. It doesn't mean anything. You need to have your policy on all the aspects because policy is a commitment between you and the stakeholder. And that must be made publicly available. So once you have a policy commitment, you need to block your processes. I call them management standards and technical standards, which will state as a business what you need to do in order to achieve your policy commitment. Now, for example, if I have a climate change policy, I state that by 2050 I will be carbon neutral. What does it mean? How do we achieve that? What every function has to do, that need to be defined, and that is the standard. Then how do we do? You can go another level to provide guidance to your people in the business to enable these functions. But you cannot focus on each and everything. As in life, we also focus on important thing. That in sustainability we call material issues. So you need to find out as a business what are important. I have just given some example which is applicable for extractive industries or a manufacturing industry. But that has to be individualized for each of the business. So I consider if you have all these things, you can integrate sustainability into business and think as a management system. But before I end, I also want to highlight one aspect, because of late I keep hearing and people ask me, is ESG and sustainability same? I wanted to very clearly state by my understanding, they are not same. They are two different things. Sustainability is for all stakeholders. ESG is for investor. It is investor driven, because when an investor invests in your company, they want to understand, are you managing all your risk, including sustainability risk, environmental, social and governance risk, so that you can provide the return in time. So the approach is investor driven. Sustainability is business responsibility to grow and keep growing by taking care of all stakeholders. So they are not two things. Sustainability is not a checkbox. It is a change in mindset, and the change in mindset has to happen at every level of the organization and the corporates, and to that extent in every level of society. So before I close, I wish to thank you all, but one quote which resonates me, it has come from Bapuji, great Mahatma Gandhi, that be the change you want to see in the world. Don't point fingers to others. Be an example, show the example, and I am fortunate to see many examples today coming before me today in the talk. Thank you very much.